Washington and Lee will come into Randolph to take them on in women's soccer on Saturday. I had a chance to catch up with Kevin Porterfield, head coach of the Randolph College Wildcats. He talks about his team as a whole to this point, the strength of the ODAC, and much, much more. It's Kevin Porterfield on the Sports Buffet podcast. Always fun to talk to Kevin Porterfield, head coach of the Randolph College Wildcats. Another successful season getting ready to actually already is going for the Wildcats. And, Coach, how long did it really take you guys to get acclimated for a season?
Well, I think the girls really, it started back in the spring. We've got a good class of senior athletes this year, 7 seniors, and starting back in the spring of their junior year, obviously working hard to make that senior year a very productive one. They came in very fit, very ready to go. We added several new players that have made impacts right away and got off to a good start, and now headed into ODAC play. We started last Wednesday with the game against Randolph-Macon, and then obviously tomorrow with WNL.
I think anytime you get juniors or seniors, we all got to remember they were first years at some point. When do you think people really start learning what it is to be a college athlete?
Really, that junior year, I think it sort of kicks in. I think you're right. That first year, it's exciting, it's new, but they're taking a lot of things in. The level of play is sometimes a little different than what they've been used to. I think the pace of a college game is a little different than even at the club level. So I think those first couple years are really sort of learning where they fit in, where they will be most productive on the field. And really sort of that junior year, they sort of take ownership of their own play. At that time, they can sort of see where they fit in. And this year we have a junior captain. So for us, that junior year has seemed to be where everything sort of comes together for them.
And too, depending on what state they're in high school, Virginia high school, they just passed a rule to where you can pretty much work with your athletes all year round, but the NCAA kind of doesn't really give you that luxury. How often does an athlete needs to be self-motivated?
I think that's a big part, especially at the Division III level, where we're given a traditional season for us right now in the fall, but really then they're sort of on their own for the rest of the year. We're allowed a short 5-week window in the spring to work with our athletes, but really that time in between is very critical, and I think it's very evident which athletes are self-motivated and get in and get the workouts on their own. You see that very evident in the spring and hopefully leading into the summer. But it's very important for athletes to understand that it is a year-long commitment, whether they're working with us as coaches or on their own.
What do athletes need to do when you can't work with them? I mean, obviously, I don't think the NCAA says you can't kick a soccer ball, period.
Right. No, they can do everything on their own, just like it would be in a practice situation. Really, the difference is we can't direct them as coaches. So we give them off-season workouts. My players are very good about getting together and playing pickup games, even getting together and playing with the men, which I think is a great opportunity for them to play at a little higher level. But for them, I think it's just sort of a lead-in. They'll take a little bit of a break after the season to heal, but then it's just sort of stepping right back into the routine and continuing that coordinated effort amongst themselves.
What have you seen so far out of your team that you've liked?
I think offensively has been a big change for us. We knew coming in we added a few impact players on the offensive side of things. We're scoring a lot of goals this year, which has been a problem for us in years past. I think defensively we've continued to do very well as far as staying organized and staying compact defensively. But I think really the offensive side of things is where we've seen the biggest turnaround in this last year.
Now, one thing I always say is no matter the sport, if you're trying to work your way up in the ODAC, it's tough because not only are the middle of the pack getting better, the top of the pack's getting better too. Talk about the ODAC in women's soccer and how competitive it is.
It's very competitive. Obviously with Shenandoah coming into the league this year, 13 teams total in our league, a big conference. 4 of those teams will have played last year in the NCAA Tournament, which is almost unheard of. So, only the top 8 teams make the tournament. So, really from top to bottom, any team on any day can really beat any of the other teams. But when you have, at this time we've got 2 nationally ranked teams in our conference right now. W&L is knocking on the door. Roanoke was knocking on that door in preseason polls. Every day we play a conference game, it's going to be a battle, and we know that going in. And I think you see the ODAC get represented in the national tournament based on that level of play throughout the year.
Back to your team, let's talk about some individuals that kind of make you guys go.
I think really in the back, 2 players that have really locked down the defense for us, 2 upperclassmen, Elisa Otero and Ashley Stevens, both are center backs, and they've really done a fantastic job of keeping things organized. In the back, we've brought on a new first year who's made an impact in Erin Carter. She's another outside back for us. And then having another outside back who's a senior in Kelsey Klein is an important role as well. In the midfield, Mariel Rondo has been an all-conference player the last 2 years. She's shifted back into a center mid position, which is a little different for her this year, but we want her around the ball a little bit more. And then offensively, Brittany Hammonds, who led us in scoring last year, will continue to be an offensive threat for us. A new player for us, Abigail Bullins, who is also a basketball player. You'll hear a lot about her come basketball season. Very quick, very athletic player who will play up top for us and has already scored a number of goals early on.
I think people think of in high school, obviously athletes share sports, but at the D3 level, sometimes you've got to share athletes between sports as well. If you have a soccer player that's good in another sport, how much do you like to kind of see them play another sport? For me, I grew up a 3-sport athlete. So, in a day where it is sort of declining, you don't see the dual sport athletes quite as much as you used to. For me, I enjoy it. I think that's one of the beauties of Division III athletics is, you do have the opportunity if you're able to compete at that level to play different sports. And Coach Nichols and I both really liked Abigail and what she could provide. And she, I think, is sort of that type of player that just needs the competition year-round to sort of make herself go. But I think, you do see that declining a little bit. Players are turning to one sport a little bit earlier in life than they used to. But for me, if an athlete is able to compete at that level, I enjoy seeing them play 2 sports at this level. W&L on Saturday at your place, what worries you about them?
They're very organized. Obviously, they come in as one of the top ranked teams in the conference. They do what they do very well. They play a lot of balls into the box. They're very aggressive going offensively, and they're smart. And if you don't take that into consideration and you don't defensively keep your shape, they're gonna hurt you in a lot of different ways. So I think one, just their field knowledge, their vision, the way they play is very consistent. So all of those factors, in addition to their being very athletic, we have to take account for tomorrow.
Final thing, and I'm going to take the long way around the parking lot with this question. Soccer is a game to where there's not a lot of offense, so if you get behind early, it can be a big hole to climb out of. How do you, A, stress the early importance of the game, but B, not put so much pressure on people to where you've got people that are just tight as you know what?
Yeah, and especially with female athletes, I think that's important. With my team this year, I think they play much better when they are a little bit looser, when they have a sense of urgency, but at the same time, they're not tight. You're supposed to play athletics because it's a fun thing to do. Hopefully they're enjoying it still at this level. So we try and make that a factor. At the same time, we talk about the first 10 minutes being a critical part of the game, and we've gotten off to very good starts in our early wins in the season. At the same time, we were down against Ferrum twice. We're able to come back and get goals. So I think it's that's where those upperclassmen are able to come in. 90 minutes is an awful long time to play. So obviously we stress the importance of getting off to a good start. If we can get those early goals, all the better. But at the same time, if we do get scored on, understanding that there's going to be potential and time for us to make that comeback. And as long as we continue to do the things that we work on, we're going to be successful.
Coach, it's always a pleasure. Best of luck against WNL and throughout, and we'll talk to you soon.
Excellent. Thank you so much.